Ryan, we got to talk about the Godzilla thing. So I
Okay.
sent you a meme the other day of Godzilla standing up from. My assumption was from Godzilla -1, of him standing up in the middle of the ocean and how long his legs have to be in order to do that.
That meme is actually from like Godzilla King of Monsters.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's kind of old.
Okay, so that makes me change my mind a little bit because Godzilla King of Monsters feels like the Godzilla that's like physics doesn't matter here. Don't ask your questions. We don't have answers for them. Whereas like -1 feels like it's going for more of like a not realistic, but more of like a probable Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong about that?
No, like there now. I saw it twice. I was like jaw dropped by it both times. So
Yeah.
anybody out there who's seen it like 30 times, excuse me for not getting it perfectly right, but I do believe there is a shot under the water when Godzilla is kind of like waist deep in the middle of the ocean, and I believe they show his tail and his legs kicking like kind of
Like
slowly.
he's kind of like doggy paddling a bit.
He's kind of like keeping himself afloat, like he's kind of like a buoy, kind of like waist deep in the water with his tail and feet like keeping him like
Yeah,
upright.
and you showed me a picture of an alligator doing that, and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I like that a lot as a probable explanation, but
Mm-hmm.
he loses a bit. I think just a bit of like the badass for me, knowing that
Just
like
because he's just like
yeah, well no,
in
he's
the
like
water.
he's like
Yeah.
intense staring, and his little feeties are going like
Yeah.
that. Just
Yeah.
like that kind of ruins it for me a little bit.
Well, I
His
mean,
his little feeties is what
His
gets
li-
me.
little feeties,
his little
his little
feeties.
beats,
Yeah, his little
his little beats.
his little beans.
No, I get it, and that's kind of something that I've noticed joining a lot of Godzilla meme groups recently, is that for as much as people like to make memes and like to draw pictures and like make like fan-made comics that make Godzilla this like monster destructive force and like scary and like wants to end humanity, there's just as many comics of like Godzilla being like a kitten or like a puppy or like Clifford the Clifford the giant red dog. Like there's enough like, and there's actually online, and I forget the name of the artist, but he does stuff on Instagram where he takes the different Godzillas that have existed across history and King Kong, and they're all separate characters, and they just do stuff. And their personality is based on their size relation to each other. So
Okay.
so like Godzilla Earth is like the biggest one, so he's like the most intimidating of the bunch, and then you have legendary Godzilla, and he's kind of like middle of the pack, so he's kind of like the one that's kind of like level-headed amongst everyone else. And then you have -1, who's the smallest one of all, and he's like a little toddler that everyone else looks after, but he's the most bloodthirsty, which is the funniest part.
Where does the Matthew Broderick Godzilla fit into this?
Yeah, excuse you.
He doesn't show up in this.
Okay.
Aw.
Not surprisingly enough, the hardcore Godzilla fandom does not consider that Godzilla
What
because
do they
it
consider
doesn't
it?
do
The look-
just a Zilla. They consider it Zilla.
A demi-Godzilla.
A demi-Godzilla. Aw.
Yeah. So in fact, I
All
think
right,
it's
can we-
one of the.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's stop talking
good?
about Godzilla because I don't want to talk
We're
about
good.
Godzilla.
Okay.
I got
Wow.
nothing.
Wow.
I'm ready to
Pull out
go.
that birthday card.
I am.
Do it.
Yeah, why not? No, I wanted to start on time. We're going to start on time. We're going to start on time-ish. So,
Perfect.
got to move this thing along. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday!
Oh, thanks, guys. You didn't have to. No, today we're talking. It is my birthday. So I decided I'm going to pick whatever I want to watch for the show, and so I picked the pilot episode of Lost that Ryan had never seen, but Devin and I have seen. And it's also Devin's birthday on Friday, so happy birthday, Devin!
Oh, thanks, man.
If you're listening to this on Friday, wish Devin a happy birthday.
That would be
So.
incredible. Please do, because I'm gonna
Yeah.
be having it. I'm gonna be having a day. I'm not ready to turn 34 yet.
Yeah. Ryan's birthday's not until June, which is why we made him watch Lost. So, um,
Poor Ryan.
yeah, but before we get into that, this is the part of the show where we usually talk about things that we watched in the past week. We didn't have much, but there is some breaking movie news that we want to talk about. We're going to talk about the Oscar nominations for a bit. Oscar nominations came out yesterday, and I tried watching them live, but I wasn't able to catch them all. Devin, you watched them live, correct?
I did, and it definitely wasn't during work hours. Definitely not. I watched them live. It was great.
Yeah. I kind of get a pass with that at work because
It's your job, right?
Kinda. We definitely ended up talking about it in one of the classes as people were filtering in, like just talking about the nominations.
I can't wait to hear your guys' take on it. I really can't.
What do we want to? What jumps out to you guys? Like I know before the show, like at the beginning of the show here, you guys were talking about Godzilla. Godzilla -1 got some nominations.
It did. What did it get nominated for?
I
Effects.
believe, yeah, effects. Let me scroll down here.
Okay, so, can we talk about effects actually? Because
Yes.
for best visual effect, we have The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon.
Mhm.
Immediately, my mind goes no to Napoleon, no to The Creator because I don't know what it is, no to Guardians 3, and no to Mission Impossible. The only one I've seen on this is Guardians 3, but
Okay.
I don't know that Guardians 3 did anything that any Marvel didn't do. And Napoleon.
Okay. I will defend The Creator here for a second. The Creator was one of my favorite movies of last year. And I think the visual effects in this are, for the budget the film had, they are phenomenal. It's a lower budget, shot on different like not cinema grade cameras, but like more consumer grade cameras. It looks phenomenal. And the visual effects in it are fantastic. I have not seen Godzilla -1. I'll agree with you on Napoleon, Mission Impossible, and Guardians. Like there's nothing there that really wows me. I was more impressed with the poster of Guardians 3 in my light box than I was the visual effects of Guardians. But at the same time, there's a lot of Rocket in that, so I can see Guardians getting it for Rocket Raccoon. But my pick for this one is probably The Creator. I have not seen Godzilla -1 though, so.
Okay, so I've seen Godzilla -1. I've seen The Creator, not seen any of the other ones. It really, to me, and I know the awards. I don't know how they do it, but I would like to, between The Creator and Godzilla -1, whichever one had the smallest budget should get the award. That's how I see it. I would like Godzilla -1 to get it, but if The Creator was dealing with a smaller budget than that, then yeah, like for what they were able to pull off, definitely. Because I know the numbers for Godzilla, the official numbers for Godzilla -1 has not come out yet, as far as I know. Because originally it was supposed to be under like 15 million, but then the director was like, I wish I had that much. So we don't know. We don't know what their official budget was.
The Creator had a budget of $80 million.
Oh wow!
So,
and based on what I said, it would be Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
But The Creator was amazing. Devin, you'll love it.
I
think anyway. Yeah.
That was almost
really
my pick for my birthday. Like that was that's high praise.
The Creator's really good.
Yeah.
Man, good quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys have any other categories that like jumped out at you where it was like, because I mean we have to talk about the big four, right? The best actor, best actress, and then the best movie and the best animated feature film. That one's a big one for me personally in my heart. But did any of the other ones jump out at you?
The only ones I saw were the ones you sent to the group chat, because I didn't even know that's how they were announcing them this year.
So hold on, was this announcement new that they were announcing them live with Jack Quaid?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
they've done that before. They'll do it during Good Morning America. So when you watch it live, that when they take the breaks, it's because they're doing commentary on Good Morning America about what's going on with the nominations.
Is that what those breaks were?
Yep.
Weird. Okay, now I get it. I was like, what are they pausing for? They're just like saying names. Like they don't need to like rest between these things.
To get commercial breaks in, commercial breaks, and anything that makes them money. One of the big nominations that stood out to me was a record breaker. John Williams was nominated for his score for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And if John Williams doesn't win, I'm going to riot.
Okay, so I have only seen of this list, so it's American Fiction, Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I've only seen Indiana Jones and Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't remember any of the score to Killers of the Flower Moon, if I'm being entirely honest. And I know that the Indiana Jones theme pops up in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, like, this whole category, I went, I guess Oppenheimer?
For me, I don't usually like this, but if this is the last John Williams score ever, like if he's actually going to retire, like he keeps threatening, then give it to him.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Thank you to everyone in the chat wishing me a happy birthday.
Aw, thanks, chat.
And then the creator from the director of Rogue One. Yes, it was.
Oh, it was that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, I've mixed up the creator and the artist, I believe. The silent movie one. I have those. So when you said creator, I thought artist. Don't worry about it. I'm having a day.
You're good. So do you want to jump into the big three?
We gotta.
All right. So let's start with Best Actor. So we've got Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. I've heard good things. You haven't seen Oppenheimer yet?
No, I'm waiting for you to make me watch it.
Okay. Well, I think when we do that, we're doing Barbenheimer. We're doing both in one episode.
We gotta do it.
I've heard good. That's the only one I've seen is Oppenheimer. I will plan on watching more of them, but I've heard good things about Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers. He won for the Golden Globe. I've seen great things about Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction, which I'm excited to check out as well. Ryan, any thoughts on any of these?
Oppenheimer, because I haven't seen any of them.
Well,
Yeah.
So I mean,
I heard an interview with Carey Mulligan, who plays opposite Bradley Cooper in Maestro. She was on one of the podcasts I listened to, and she made me really interested in that movie because of apparently how deep Bradley Cooper got into that role.
Oh yeah.
Like, apparently he got like way into it and was like, when we're on a call, you only refer to me by my name or my character's name or something.
He also spent 7 years learning to conduct music.
What?
Yeah. So the method acting stuff is what it is, but to put 7 years into learning a skill like that, I'll give you props for that. Like that's worthy of that's worthy of a nomination, if not a win.
If this acting thing doesn't work out for him, he always has something now to fall back on.
You can fall back on conductor.
I mean, he's also the director of Maestro. So,
well, if that doesn't work out either, he has something else to fall back on.
Is it good? Have you guys heard anything about Maestro?
When I went out to New Jersey for the holidays, my aunt and uncle were going to sit down and watch it after we left, and I was like, I need to check it out. But they had heard good things, so
oh yeah,
I haven't seen it yet. It's on Netflix. I'm going to do what I always do and watch all of the Best Picture nominees.
I really want to do that. This year.
That's
really.
my challenge. We may not do them all on the show, but let's talk about leading actress in the leading role. We've got Annette Bening in Naiad, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Holler in Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. I've only seen Killers of the Flower Moon. So.
I mean, listen, it's going to be Lily Gladstone. It's going to be Lily Gladstone or I Riot.
I think the big news from this category is the omission, which is a lot of people expected Margot Robbie to get nominated for Barbie, and she did not.
Is there a limit on how many nominations there can be?
They do 5. They do 5 nominations.
Okay. Well,
I don't know, because I love what Margot Robbie did with Barbie. And I think that what I'm worried about is that people are taking it as like it's too like superficial of a role, or it's not like a deep enough role, like someone playing Barbie can't give a deep performance. But I really think she does. I don't know. I like the performance.
I think the weird thing that comes out of that story is she didn't get nominated for it, but Ryan Gosling got nominated for Ken for supporting actor, which is very, very interesting.
Well, my favorite take on that is that's literally the plot of the Barbie movie.
That's what I said when I messaged. I mean, that's what I said is when you sent it. And to be honest, now that I've heard who the nominees are for Best Actress, I feel like what is it? Pretty Things.
Poor Things.
Poor Things. I really feel that that movie, not that it shouldn't be around, not that it shouldn't, get the nominations that it's getting. I feel like that movie has kind of like sucked up the space that Barbie would have taken if it didn't like come out yet.
That's not a bad read on that, honestly. Yeah. I can see that.
Because didn't that movie recently come out?
I mean, it's like
Poor Things. It came out in award season, so like November.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Like if that movie would have been held like maybe like a month and a half more before that it was officially released, I feel like Barbie would be taking some of these spots that they weren't nominated for that Poor Things is in.
That's a good read on that. I actually really like that.
Because from the trailers I've seen, that movie seems to be a bit more like mainstream art type film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why it's getting a lot of the nominations that it's in, because of its style, not, Well, I mean, again, I haven't seen it, so I'm just going to stop my thoughts on it there.
No, you're good. So then the big category is the Best Picture. So the nominees for Best Picture are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie. So Barbie did get nominated here. Nice. The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. I've seen 3 of these. So I've got 7 to watch before the Oscars.
I've seen 2.
I'm going for The Zone of Interest.
That one is also on the Best Foreign Film list. And that makes me really curious that it also crossed over to Best Picture.
I just randomly said one of the titles. I have no...
Hold on, do you know what it's about?
No idea.
Give me one sentence. The Commandant of Auschwitz and his wife Hedwig strive to build a dream life for their family in a house and garden next to the camp.
Okay, no, I take it back.
I mean, that's got Best Picture written all over it.
Sounds like a riot, guys. I mean, it might be a really good movie, but like, wow.
No, that's too close of a premise as The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
I have such a hard time knowing which one I want to win. Like, American Fiction doesn't come out until 2nd of February here. So I can't watch it I can't watch it in theaters yet, but I'm super curious about it. I think of this list, my favorite was Barbie. Like, if you're based on Devin's preferences, it's Barbie.
I don't know. I really don't know. I need to watch more of them. I've heard good things about so many of these films that I'm going to have to sit down and watch them all. If you're new to You Have to Watch This podcast, every year we do an Oscars bet where we calculate, we each make our own ballots, and then whoever has the most wins at the end of the night wins the Oscar bet and gets to pick out whatever movie they want to do on the show. Regardless of the rule of one of us has to have not seen it. We can do anything that we want when we win. Who won last year? Was it you, Devin?
I won last year,
Yeah.
100%.
And what was your pick for your win?
I think did I make us watch Jurassic Park?
No.
No.
I made us watch some movie that we had all already seen because I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
I'll have to go back through our programming, but that was my concession.
You know,
You've all seen it, I wanted to talk.
I don't think we ever did do your Oscar win.
Did we not do my Oscar win?
I don't think we did. I don't think we did.
I'm looking back.
Anyway, that'll be our Oscar bet this year. Is we will do the bet. We should do a live stream again because one of the best things that happened during the live stream last time we streamed the Oscars was we missed Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
And we were talking about his role at the exact
Yeah,
moment that it happened.
like we were talking about other things, and all you hear is Ryan say, "Oh, Chris Rock is on," and then a minute later, we're like, "Wait, what happened?"
We're really
I
good
think
at this, guys.
Yeah, it's a highlight of the show. So, yeah, we'll have to do a live stream again this year of the Oscars.
Dressed up in our tuxes again.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll be dressed the way I am now.
Your finest clothes.
Yeah, those are the Oscar nominations.
One more one to bring up quick. How do
Okay.
you guys feel about the best animated feature film? We have Boy in the Huron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I know you've at least seen two of them collectively between the two of you. I've seen one of them.
I think
I liked Elemental.
Yeah. Did you like it Oscar enough? Like, was it enough to win an Oscar?
Based on the list that's there, I'm kind of surprised it's even on it. I mean, I like the Spider-Man one. I liked Elemental. If I had to pick one, it would go to the Spider-Man movie. I just wish that those are the only two that I've seen. I don't know anything about the other titles because the first time I'm hearing them. I'll put it to you this way: whichever movie is made for adults and not kids, I want to win.
All right, that's fair.
Because I want to start seeing more respect for the art form.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Into the Spider-Verse won it when it was nominated. I think I don't know if Across the Spider-Verse will win it this time. I think if anything, The Boy and the Heron being the last film from that director,
Miyazaki.
might bring it up to the Oscars.
That's really my thing. Is I almost have the John Williams thing that you had. Is that if this is really Miyazaki's last movie, I think it deserves a win.
Well then, yeah, okay. I just looked up the movie. Now I know the one you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen stuff for this, so yeah. I'm on board. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, but also, so I looked up Nimona and I looked up Robot Dreams. This is going to be super like subjective, but it's definitely an art style that they both have that like Adventure Time has, that like Steven Universe has, where like it's very kind of flat, not very shaded. There's like thick, heavy outlines on the characters, and it's really like a style that's been in vogue lately. That it doesn't. I think works well in the TV format. I think is really difficult to work in a like a
Oh,
feature length film format.
they did that for a movie?
They did that for 2 movies.
Yeah, I'm looking at, like, I went to Google and I pulled up
Yeah.
just Google images of it,
Yeah.
and that's a movie and not a show.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's a show. I mean, maybe it's great.
No.
It's probably great, but like,
Yeah.
it's the style for me. Like, I think that there is an artwork to animation. I'm off of my high horse now. I want the other one to win.
Yeah, those are the Oscar nominations. Those are our brief thoughts on them. Yeah, stay tuned for our Oscar bet info.
Yeah,
and
excited.
we'll post our ballots online as well. It'll be a lot of fun. This is always a fun time of year. I will be reporting back on which films I've watched as I watch them
Good.
going into the Oscars. But until then, Devin, it's time to go back. Got to go back to the island. Yeah.
Gotta go back.
So today, for my birthday, we were talking about the pilot episode of Lost. This is the premiered on September 22nd, 2004, and I didn't need to look that up. I know it. Because that plays a part in the show. Like, that's the actual date of the plane crash. Yeah. The more you know. This is directed by J.J. Abrams, written by J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof, and Carlton Cuse. Starring Matthew Fox, Evangeline Lilly, and Dominic Monaghan. Because those seem to be the big three of the pilots. So, this is an ensemble show that featured a huge ensemble cast that lived in Hawaii for 6 years. This is a show that I remember watching when it premiered in 2004. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. I watched it from the week it premiered. I don't think I watched it open like the first night, but I caught the reruns on the weekend. I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to watch that. And then from that point on, every Wednesday I was watching Lost. Like, it was appointment television. I would record episodes. Like, this is what started me on my journey of fandom, because this was a show that dealt with a lot of mystery and lore and a lot of things that you had to like put the pieces together and build theories for. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I introduced this show to Devin as well.
You absolutely did.
Yeah.
So, my introduction to Lost was one day. It was some band camp at some point in time. You had brought the DVD of one of the seasons, and you were watching it over lunch. And I like walked in on you guys watching it over lunch in the band room and went, "What is this?" And you go, "Oh, this is Lost." I go, "I need to watch this show." And I watched a little bit of it and went, "I'm watching it."
That's not how I remember it.
I
have a different version of this.
Tell me.
This version will probably entertain Ryan more than anything.
God.
My version of making you watch the first episodes of Lost was I was hanging out at your house, and for some reason I had either you got them or we went there together, but I had the first 2 discs of the first season from Blockbuster.
We did get them from Blockbuster.
And I remember watching them in your dad's basement.
Yep.
And like we alternated between Lost and playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 on Xbox. And I remember it was on Xbox because you had the DLC skins and maps that you couldn't get on PlayStation.
Right, because you had to download like on rudimentary Xbox Live. Yeah, I remember this. Yep. Okay, You're right. That's it.
So I introduced Devin to this show in 2004. Ryan, I did not know you in 2004, 2005. Ryan, you had never seen this show before, correct?
Nope.
What has been your perception of Lost?
Well, you two are the first people that I've met that I have like a somewhat of a close friendship with that actually like the show. Everyone else that I've ever really known, all have always talked about Lost the same way people talk about Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So
expand on it just a little
okay.
bit.
Show starts off great, a lot of mystery, a lot of characters. Eventually, the show deludes into more about personal relationships and character growth, and leaves all of the and it doesn't leave all of the mystery behind, but it leaves certain aspects of the mystery behind, and becomes too cryptic with it, and then just slowly turns away from what a lot of the people who I knew or know what they liked about the show turned away from. So they did too.
Okay.
That is an interesting take. I want to get into that a little later.
It is. So what we're going to do is we're going to avoid spoilers for most of this review. We're going to focus on the first 2 episodes of Lost, which are pilot part 1 and 2, which is just the standard industry title of a show like this is pilot, but also kind of works in the sense of the show, because it's the only time where you get to see the pilot of the plane, Oceanic 815.
So impressed you just know this. I just watched these episodes too. I don't remember Oceanic 815.
Yeah. Oceanic 815, yeah. Flight 815. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the show Lost, in the pilot episode, Oceanic Flight 815 crashes on an island in the Pacific. The survivors find the cockpit and learn. A group of the survivors find the pilot, and he tells them they were 1,000 miles off course when they crashed. So no one's going to be able to find them. And there's something in the jungle that no one knows about. That's part 1 of the pilot. Part 2 is they find it. They take the transceiver from the cockpit that they got from the pilot and take it further into the island to try to send out a signal. The signal is being blocked because something is already broadcasting from the island. And what's being broadcast is a message in French saying they're all dead. Send help. That has been playing on a loop for 16 years. That's pretty much the pilot in a nutshell.
Good description.
Devin, is this the first time you've revisited the pilot since you watched Lost the first time?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is the 3rd or 4th time I've watched it. What did you think of the pilot revisiting it 20 years later?
I was of 2 minds. So it was enjoyable the whole time. Like, don't for a second think that I didn't have a lot of fun going back to this pilot, because it was great. But knowing as much as I know about the series, it was so fun to see these characters in this version of themselves, because the characters progress so much throughout the entire show. But it's also... I also enjoyed pretending I didn't know what some of the twists were anymore, where they'd be like, there's something in the woods. And I'm like, oh, what could it be? And like, I know what it is. I know it's in the woods. Fine. Or they're like,
yeah.
What does it mean in French that they're all dead? And I'm like, I don't know. And of course I do. But like, in my mind, I kept thinking like how much fun I had with the mysteries of this show as they kept popping up, and how he'll do like these. I mean, this is, I think, where J.J. Abrams came up with that black box thing, right? And like, he keeps doing like little versions of that, where like even the opening shot, you get Jack laying down. Well, where is he? Why is he laying down like that? And then there's his dog. What is this dog? Why is he in the woods with a dog? And then he like slowly gets up, and you're like, oh, why is he on a beach? And then like they slowly reveal the plane. You're like, what happened here? And like, it's that slow trickle of like questions and answers I love.
Real quick, I want to just acknowledge the chat and thank my sister for just commenting all of the numbers in the chat.
Oh,
thank you.
Done.
Happy birthday to me. All right, Ryan, your question.
What's up?
Okay, so I've always heard this about J.J. Abrams, about the whole like black box or mystery box thing that he does with his filming. And to be honest, Devin, your description of it makes me more curious about what exactly that is, because I've seen the Star Wars movies that he's done multiple times. People have said that he's done it in those films. You just described it, and I need to ask.
Yeah.
What is the J.J. Abrams mystery box, black box thing?
Okay, so I'm trying. I wish I had watched his TED Talk on this. He did a TED Talk on this. The mystery box is you will be presented with a mystery, and something is in that box, but you don't know what's in the box. The person telling the story knows, and the journey of the show is getting to find out what's in that box. So in the instance of Star Wars, let's just look at The Force Awakens right now. You're presented with Rey on this planet, who has who's a good pilot. She's been on Jakku her whole life. You don't know her background. You don't know who she is. She's from nowhere. The mystery is, who is Rey Skywalker? Why does she have this connection to to Luke and Anakin's lightsaber? Like, what is special about Rey? That's the mystery that J.J. Abrams sets up in The Force Awakens. And it doesn't get explored later on because you had different filmmakers come in, and not even J.J. Abrams doesn't answer that the way he intended to. I think they changed it a lot. The one thing I'll say about J.J. Abrams and Lost is he's not involved in the show that much. He directed the pilot. He directed a few episodes here and there, but after season 3, which he directed the premiere of, he wasn't very much involved. It was still a Bad Robot production, and he helped develop the show and develop the pilot. But at a certain point, it became Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse running the show. Like, it was their show. So Damon Lindelof, if you don't know, is the creator of the Watchmen series on HBO, The Leftovers on HBO, and also wrote Prometheus, Ryan.
Okay.
So J.J. Abrams was involved with the development of the show and producing it, but he wasn't very much involved with the show outside of the initial pilot. What they did in the writer's room is they wrote the show Bible about what is this show going to be about, and what are the mysteries, and what are they going to be eventually. So there were a lot of things that they set up in this pilot of, there's a monster in the woods, in the jungle. There's a polar bear on the island. I wanted to say something, but I was going to sound like Captain. I was like, why is Kirk climbing a mountain? Why is there a polar bear on the island? A lot of those things were developed or at least put on paper in the early stages of the development of this show, and then fleshed out as the show goes on. I think one of the things that you don't get from these first 2 episodes is there are other people on the island. You get a little bit of that with the broadcast, but why are there others on the island? I think was something that they're like, they're not alone on this island. Why? And that's something they developed over the first few seasons. So does that answer your question about the mystery box? Like, there's a mystery that the answer is known to the creators, but not the audience. And it's the journey of the story is getting to that.
So
that mystery, like solving that mystery.
Okay. So that's how I always assumed the majority of everything has always been written.
No, and that's fair. But okay, so the thing is, the thing with J.J. Abrams, have you seen Mission Impossible 3?
Yes.
That he directed. The rabbit's foot.
Okay.
The device that Philip Seymour Hoffman wants in Mission Impossible 3.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm doing this. It's like a USB drive. That's why I think I'm doing this.
Yeah.
They never tell you what's in that. Like, you don't have to know what's in the mystery box. The thing is, like, there is a mystery there that you can answer, but you don't have to. But it leaves the audience wondering, like, what is this? Like, that's what draws them in. I will say, I think Lost does a good job of solving most of the mysteries for you. and the ones that people don't know, they just don't go deep enough into the lore.
I mean, I'm gonna put my foot down right now. I get one of my biggest pet peeves about this show, and I revisited my pet peeves list while I was watching this. Is I hate the people that go, well, they didn't answer the question. Yes, they do. I'm sorry you didn't like the answers you got, because everything gets an answer. But whether or not you agree with this is the answer to this question is a whole other thing. Like, some of the answers to this show are of a scientific nature. Some of the answers to the show are of a spiritual nature, and that's okay.
Watching the pilot again, I think every question that is proposed in the pilot is answered on the show.
Yeah.
You learn why there's a polar bear. You learn what the thing is in the woods. You learn about the French broadcast. And there's a moment in the pilot that I always forget about that kind of sums up the show in general, like the overarching mystery of the show and what is behind everything. There's a moment that, Devin, do you know which moment I'm talking about?
I have an idea, but you go ahead. I'll let you know if I was right or wrong. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
There's a moment with a character named John Locke, who you don't get to see much in the pilot, who's one of the most interesting characters on the show. That kind of sets up like the one is black, one is white. Mm-hmm. The backgammon scene kind of sets up something that is explored in the show later on. Ryan, I'm gonna have to send you J.J. Abrams' TED Talk about Mystery Box to just for you to better understand. I hope I'm doing a good job of explaining it.
Well, I think.
I mean, because it sounds like he took. I mean, as of right now, with the way that I'm processing it, I don't mean to make it sound like it's nothing. If I end up making it sound that way, I apologize.
I'm looking it up now, so I can get it right.
It's okay. It seriously sounds like he made up a name for something that had already existed.
That's like 99% of made-up names, though. I mean, that's...
I know, but like that phrase is like contributed to him.
Well, what if we... Okay, so what if I compare and contrast like a typical 3-act structure for you? Because like... And I won't get to like movie theory, right? But like typically, you start a movie with like a person in their element, right? Then an inciting incident happens where that person can no longer be the person they were prior to this, right? So,
in this scenario, that thing that happens is like revolving around an object.
Not even around an object, around a mystery.
I think I got it wrong. I got it wrong.
Okay.
Let me just make sure I can find this.
So
okay, so I've got it wrong completely. Like, Ryan, you are right.
Oh.
Like that is just what basic story writing is, and that's why I looked this up. But the idea of the mystery box is, to Abrams, an unopened mystery box represents infinite possibilities, infinite hope, infinite potential. One of the things that the mystery box does, he talks about buying a mystery box in a little magic shop in New York City. It was decades ago, but he went there with his grandfather and bought this box for $15, completely sealed with a big question mark on the front. To J.J. Abrams, an unopened mystery box represents infinite possibility, infinite hope, infinite potential. Mystery is the catalyst of imagination. It's more important than knowledge, and mystery boxes are in everything. The blank page is a mystery box waiting to be filled with spirit, thought, and emotion. Going to the movies, watching the lights go down is a mystery box. One of the things that I was seeing here in another article is the mystery never gets solved. It's just infinite mystery. Like, you end it with another mystery. Like, you get an answer, but then there's another question, like, to keep the people involved in the show. Basic premise.
Way to keep watching the show.
A jet crashes on a tropical island, and the story follows the crash survivors. All sort of paranormal insanity ensues. More questions are raised than answered. The last sentence is more important. More questions are raised than answered from one episode to the next. You always have lingering questions from one episode to the next. Unanswered questions are even bigger. And that's kind of what the show becomes, even into the final season. But there are answers along the way.
So
I want to.
It's almost like compare and contrast Star Wars Episode 4 to The Force Awakens, right? In Star Wars Episode 4, by the end of it, you know who the good guys are, you know who the bad guys are, you know everything you need to know about them. There's no real lingering questions about, oh, well, is Luke special in some way? Did anything happen? You just get a singular good story, and all of the relevant information is told to you. In The Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams specifically, he still gives you a story, he still gives you a start, a middle, and end, but he specifically picks a few things about the plot and goes, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not going to answer it. I'm just going to throw this out there. So what Ray's point is, it's not necessary for a movie structure to build those little things into it. You can still have a very good movie without these larger questions, but J.J. Abrams thinks that these little mysteries are the hook that brings you back and the thing that sparks the conversation afterwards.
Okay.
Did you just quote Blues Traveler?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, baby.
Okay. So, the way that I enjoy entertainment,
Yeah.
This is not me saying that it's objectively bad. Okay, I'm not saying that. This is just for me. That explains why I've never been able to put a pin in it, and now I have. I've never been able to fully explain why J.J. Abrams stuff is very hit or miss for me, and I think I know why now. And it's because I like The Force Awakens. I really do. But I have a problem rewatching it because of those mystery box moments that never really fully get answered later on.
Yeah, I get that, because The Force Awakens had so much potential going forward, and it's almost like they took a lightsaber and just threw it off the cliff in the next one.
Well, I mean, that's what the director of the second one said, exactly what he did. I mean, he wanted a scene to...
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
I love it. I love it.
I want to apologize to Ryan, because I realize I did a disservice to you, Ryan, that I did not do. That Devin was given an opportunity that you were not when I first made him watch this show. So when I watched this show for the podcast, I started watching it on Amazon, and then the commercials came on in a bad spot and interrupted Michael Giacchino's score. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not. Why am I doing this? I own it on DVD. So I put in the DVDs. I'm going to read off, Devin, I'm going to read off the first 4 episodes of this show outside of the pilot. The other 2 episodes on the first disc of the show are Tabula Rasa, which deals with Jack helping the U.S. Marshal who's injured, and like some flashbacks of him and his dad. And then episode 4 is titled Walkabout. Walkabout is the John Locke episode that introduces you to John Locke, and was the moment of the show where I'm like, I need to watch the rest of this. I need to know what's going on. Like that, like outside of the pilot, that's the episode that I'm like, oh wow, weird stuff is going on this island. So Ryan, I would implore you to watch, even if you don't watch Tabula Rasa, watch episode 4, Walkabout, because I'm very interested to get your take on that. Because it's one of the best twists in television history, in my opinion. And I've watched a lot of television.
I mean, and they hint at it, right? When John Locke is sitting with, I can't remember his name, Walt. And he goes, want to know a secret? And then it cuts away, and like old me was like, oh, what is his secret? I know what his secret is.
Yeah.
That's what his secret is, and it's really, really interesting, and it makes me like that character. I'm actually curious, Ryan, what was your take on John Locke? He was the old guy playing backgammon on the beach, and he also was the one that smiled with the orange. In like
So I know that later on in the show, he's a much bigger. He's more important.
Yeah.
He becomes much more of kind of a main character, like later on throughout the show. So since I knew that and how much they were showing him, I was just like, they're teasing someone they're going to bring about later.
Gotcha.
That's seriously what I thought.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, I really did like the orange peel moment.
Yeah.
And I thought that the woman's reaction to that was very like if I was him and I did the orange peel thing and I saw her reaction, I'd be like, okay, screw you then, and walk away, which is pretty much what he did, I think.
Yeah, kind of.
And yeah, so I mean, there were definite moments where I dropped the thing that I was playing with in my hand. So the like that's kind of how I took that. Like I was like, she's just not. She needs to. I mean, granted, I know that they all just survived a plane crash, and they're probably like seeing, like body parts on the beach, so they're probably not in the right headspace. But like, like you look over and like a moment like that, it's just one of those moments of just like ridiculousness. Like, like you just stole the boots off, is off a corpse, and you look up and there's some guy staring at you. And he smiles, and there's an orange peel. I mean, you gotta laugh.
Did anyone stand out to you guys? So one of my favorite parts of this was revisiting these characters that I love. I love all of these characters, and for very different reasons. But like, Ellen, was there anybody special that you were like, this person again? And Ryan, did anybody at all stand out to be like, I want to know what their deal is a little bit more? Like, even if it's just, I'll ask you off the podcast.
Yeah, no, there was someone that I was really interested in. And he's not going to be in the rest of the show. So,
what?
I mean...
Who is it?
The pilot?
Yeah. Like I was going to say, who gets introduced that's not going to be really...
I thought you were like, it's Vincent. It's the dog.
Yeah, no, not the dog.
I wouldn't be so quick to say that the pilot doesn't show up in the show.
Yeah. Don't you be so quick to judge, Ryan.
Oh, is that Mr. Smoke?
No. What?
Mr. Smoke? What does Smoke have to do with Lost at all?
You two stop. You two stop. This
no.
show's been out since 2004. This show's been out.
Yeah. No, he's not the smoke monster.
Okay.
No, the pilot does show up again he shows up in flashbacks. One of the things that the pilot one of the things that the pilot doesn't do that the show does from this point on is every episode is a character-centric episode. So the next episode 3, is a Jack-centric episode where you get flashbacks of Jack's life. You get to see Jack before he was on the island, and it tells a story that has similar themes and leads into what is happening on the island. Same thing with Walkabout, which is the John Locke episode. It tells you a story about John Locke before he was on the island to introduce you to this character and what his secret is. And they go through that for every character that you meet on this show. So you get a Saeed episode, you get a Sawyer episode, you get a Charlie, Kate, Shannon and Boone kind of get lumped together because they're brother and sister. Even Jin and Sun get their own.
Yeah.
Walt and Michael, like they all get their own centric episodes. So, and that's one thing that the pilot doesn't really explore that much. You get into part 2 of the pilot, and it does give you the flashbacks of the crash from everyone's point of view in the different scenes. But from this point on, the show starts focusing on each character individually.
Well, that's something I do know that the show does. That there's a decent amount of flashbacks. There's something called, I guess, flash forwards and like flash sideways eventually towards the end of the show. Like,
yes.
I know that it does all of that. And I remember distinctly one person I used to know actually kind of somewhat complaining about that. The fact that like there was, I guess, a handful of episodes that they were like, half the episode, it's like half the episode was a flashback, and then you're back in normal time. But then if you would have missed like these 5 seconds in the episode, none of it would have made sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's
part
just
of it.
One of the like very, very, very few quotes I remember some of my old friends telling me about.
this is a show that you can. This is a show that was not designed for the cell phone generation.
It also
Well,
does a
I
bit
mean,
of the
it was made in 2004, so obviously, I mean, it's not because we were, there
Yeah.
wasn't like, it was like you said, TV by appointment. You made a point to watch it. Like, my wife, when she was younger, her and her best friend, I think, would watch like One Tree Hill. I think it was.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
During the commercial breaks, like they'd be on the phone together, wouldn't say a word. And then when the commercial breaks hit, they would talk about what they were just saw, and then
Yeah.
when it would pick back up again, they'd fall quiet again on the phone.
Yeah. So one of the things about that, like the mysteries and the character investment of the show, is really what hooked me in. Like, I thought watching it. I thought it was more the mystery that was having me come back every week. But rewatching it the first time around, like this is the first show I rewatched before the final season because I was like, there's a lot here to unpack. I want to revisit all of this before the final season. Doing that, I realized this show is about the characters and how they change, how the island changes them from who they were before and who they are after. That's what the show is really about. It's about the characters. And I think if you know enough about, like the first season of Lost was one of the biggest hits of television history. It won the Emmy for drama that year. It became a pop culture phenomenon to the point where that year at the Emmys, Conan O'Brien's making jokes about NBC passing on Lost. And then the next year when they do the opening sketch at the Emmys where it's Conan O'Brien crashes on an island and he meets Hurley, and they find a hatch in the jungle that will take Conan to the Emmys, and he's like, "You coming with me?" And he's just like, "Nah, dude, we weren't invited this year."
Oh man, oh god, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, so this brings up something that I kept that kept really kind of sticking in my mind about this. I feel like J.J. Abrams' mystery box concept and ultimately Lost as a TV show is a thing of the past. We don't get TV shows that release really the way that Lost did anymore, right? Sometimes Disney Plus will wait a week to like release an episode of a thing. But what really made this show for me was the mystery box, where the conversations that you would have afterwards, was the fact that it's not really bingeable, and there was no way to binge it to get those questions answered at a really quick pace. Part of the fun for me was Alan running up to you and being like, "What was that I just saw?" Sure,
Yeah.
I know this thing about Saeed that I always wanted to know, but that doesn't matter because now there's these 8 other questions I had. And I remember one time you were like, Devin, this season finale, frozen donkey wheel. That's all we know about it. And I was like, frozen donkey wheel? Frozen donkey wheel. And like for weeks, I was thinking about frozen donkey wheel.
I forgot about the frozen donkey wheel.
I never forget about the frozen donkey
Oh
wheel.
man, because they were teasing, like,
Yeah.
they would troll the internet because this was not late enough the internet didn't exist. Like, they were on Twitter talking about season finale, guys, frozen donkey wheel.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what the frozen donkey wheel was, but yeah, frozen donkey
and, like,
wheel.
But like that doesn't exist anymore at all. It's a show comes out with mysteries, and you got to get to the end before the internet spoils it for you.
Yeah.
So the my favorite moment in either one of the episodes was with Saeed, where I mean, the one character that I actually really liked, the bigger guy, I forget his name. Hurley comes over and like he's talking to him, and they're talking about like how he knows the stuff that he knows, and he looks over and goes, "The Republican Guard," and Hurley just kind of like freezes, and I'm just like, Actually good. I like that.
Ryan, if nothing else, I implore you to watch the show just for Hurley. Just for Hurley. Just watch the show for Hurley, and you will not be disappointed.
So good.
One thing I did, and you might hate me for this, is that instead of watching the episodes after, because I was watching it on Hulu, I went through and I read all of the quick descriptions for like the next 2 seasons. So like, I know what those told me, so I have kind of like a basic outline.
Those are very even like so. I have the book here that has for my DVDs that have the descriptions, and they're still pretty vague. Yeah, they're still pretty vague. So they don't really give you much.
No.
And I think that even the online ones are even worse.
Like the tail section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I watched the DVD, I got a commercial about for season 2, and there's no new footage in it. It's just like the survivors will find out they're not the survivors they think. They're not the survivors they think. And it's like, that's such a weird way to promote the second season.
It really is.
But yeah, I remember by season 2, everyone was invested in what's in the hatch.
Yeah.
Which you don't get to see the hatch in this, but
it just, I don't know. Are you guys with me that like this kind of show wouldn't be either as big of a hit or made this way? And that this was really a relic of its time?
It definitely is, because even I'm trying to think of anything that's close to it now. And the only thing I can think of is Game of Thrones. But even that had the books that you could follow along with.
So if we're not talking about like in terms of cultural relevance and cultural impact, just in terms of storytelling, I feel like a lot of Netflix shows, so a lot of the Netflix mysteries, Netflix dramas, do a little bit like this, where the beginning of an episode will be really interesting and really great. The middle, like 30 minutes of an episode will be completely boring and almost nothing, but they'll set up a mystery at the very, very end of the episode, so they get you to click on the next episode again and continue your binge. I feel like that's the only thing that does it that way now.
So Stranger Things.
It's exactly Stranger Things. Or, there was a couple of other shows that I was using as an example back when this was like my hot button issue. But like, that's how Stranger Things is, where it's like 30 minutes of almost nothing, and then like a twist at the end. You're like, I gotta watch the next one.
I think the one that does it now is Only Murders in the Building. And maybe that's why I'm so inclined to like that show, is because that does set up a new mystery at the end of every episode. Like, you learn more, but then it does set up like, well, wait, what about this? But that's also just a whodunit, so it's a bit different. Westworld came up on a list of things that do mystery boxes. Like, that was one. That was also a Bad Robot production.
That's fair. So Ryan, if you don't like the mystery box thing too much, was this like every time the show like asked a question where you like, nope?
Ask what question?
Like, it was like, oh, there's a mysterious thing in the woods, or oh, there's a mysterious voice, or oh, what is it? Like, every time the show is like, there's a grand thing.
I don't even see it like that. All I see is setup. I see setup.
Yeah.
Because it's a pilot. And to me, that's just a setup.
That's what it does.
Like, the pilot of Will and Grace sets up the rest of the show. Why did I go back to Will and Grace for that? I don't know. Maybe I was trying to go for the same time. The same era.
I'm not mad about the Will and Grace reference. Well done.
So, Ryan, you said before we went live that you were not going to watch the rest of the show. Is that still the case?
I will give episodes 3 and 4 a chance.
Okay.
But one of the things I was thinking when I was watching it, and like, again, you two are the first like outspoken people that I've like hung out with and I've gotten to know really well, that are like outspokenly positive about the show, like from beginning to end. Almost everyone that I know loves the first couple seasons.
Mhm.
It's the tail end that people start to fall off on, of people that I knew in the past. And the one thing that's making me kind of like, is whenever I've seen people talk about it online who bring up issues that they've had with it. Alan, you've said this thing a couple times. The one thing that kind of prevents me from like being like, yeah, sure, I'll dive right into this is the lore. There's lore. You need to pay more attention to the lore. Like, is all of that lore explained in the show? Or are there aspects of things that you need to like get answers from some other source?
It's a weird thing. If you want to deep dive in, so everything you need to know for the show is in the show. You just have to be patient and watch all 6 seasons. If you want to dive more into some things, they did alternate reality games between seasons 3 and 4, and then between 4 and 5 that I played. One was Find Oceanic 815 or Oceanic 815, where each week you would have to go in and play different games and solve different mysteries to do this it just deep dives into this journey of this crew looking for the wreckage of Oceanic 815. Mm-hmm. Not necessary for the show. Adds a little bit the alternate reality games were more like a comic book tie-in to like Star Wars. Like if you want to learn more about how Captain Phasma escaped Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens, read the comic book. But you don't need to know that for The Last Jedi. She survived. That's all you need to know. There's that stuff. You want to learn more about the people behind the Dharma Initiative. There's stuff about that online. Even to the point where when you watch the finale and there's all these unanswered questions, they released a prologue that just straight up answers all of the questions that you have. But Ryan, you also have the benefit of asking me about things that happen on Lost. One of the stories. Oh man, I'm going to tell the story on the show. Whatever.
Do it.
She can't get mad at me. She got mad at me last week. She's not getting mad at me again this week.
Birthday.
When my wife and I had just started talking, I don't even think we were dating at this point. She was at a party and Lost came up, and they were trying to figure out what was the name of the show that the 2 characters that showed up in season 3 that were in for like 5 episodes and then killed off. What was the name of the show that they were on? And they couldn't think of it. And it was stumping everyone at this party. And she called me at like 11:30 at night to be like, hey, what was the name of that show on Lost? And she didn't even have to finish the question. And I was like, expose. She's like, thank you.
And then she proposed over the phone.
And it was meant to be. It's funny. Lost has come up twice this week at work. And I don't know, like from students that I work with, and I didn't bring it up. They brought it up to me. And a lot of them are like, do you like Lost, like the whole thing, or just the like parts of it? I was like, I like the whole thing. I will tell you where the show goes wrong and why it ended so quickly. Because it hits the point where they do flashback episodes for every character, and then they do a flashback episode dedicated to Jack's tattoo, and then the network was like, okay, guys, we should think about wrapping this up. Like, what's the end game here? And then that's when they planned out the next 3 seasons. Like, this is how we're going to get to the end of the show. This is the story that we're going to follow from here on out. And that's when the show started heading towards its ending. Because the mystery box works to a point, but if you keep going mystery after mystery after mystery with no end in sight, there's no point. Like if you're going to keep going, if Lost is still on the air 20 years later, I would probably have stopped watching.
Yeah.
But if you keep it going for a finite amount of time and you know where the story's going, if you know, even if you're not going to answer all of those mysteries, if you know where these character journeys are going to end, that works better than if you keep going with it. It's not a soap opera. It's a drama. It's a mystery drama that you can't have on the air for 20 years.
Exactly.
And that's where the frozen donkey wheel comes in.
Good.
All right.
One
So
last thing I want to bring up about this.
Okay.
My favorite part of this is that it very much takes place in a very definite time and place where you can definitely tell it's post 9/11, specifically because of
Saeed.
how everyone reacts to Saeed, and even sometimes like the camera pans to Saeed, and I'm like, okay, I know what you think we're supposed to be feeling here, post 9/11 America, but this is fine now. This is okay.
I think it was very interesting for them to they play into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not what the character Saeed becomes. It's very interesting that they did that and then made the character what he is. And I think he's one of the more interesting characters on the show.
He was the one that I was immediately drawn to again. Like Ryan, you said you were drawn to the pilot. Like the second Saeed went on the screen, I'm like, oh, Saeed. I love him.
This was the first time I've watched this show since I've watched Lord of the Rings. So seeing, was he Merry or Pippin?
He was.
I love how no one knows. Like, Devin, you're the resident Lord of the Rings fan, and you still don't know if he's Merry or Pippin.
Yeah, he's one of them. He's certainly one of them.
But seeing him snort heroin in the loo.
It's Hobbit dust.
What, he's Merry?
He's Merry.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Merry. Did you
definitely
like his
Merry
character?
after snorting that stuff.
Did you like his character, Ryan? Was he fun for you?
He was the. I was like, oh, the first. As soon as he was on screen and he started talking, I'm like, oh, a generic 311 band member stand-in. Like I went straight.
Not
to
even
the 311. Like
it's not even. It's more Oasis once you get into like the drive shaft stuff.
Oh, that's sad.
That scene of him like walking along, going, "You are," like that, like lives rent free in my head all the time.
Doesn't to me.
I love it. It's so cringe. It's incredible. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I used to have that song on my iTunes. I don't have it anymore. I have to look and see if I can get it again. I will say a good majority of the music on my phone is the soundtrack to Lost. And not just the soundtrack, the scores to Lost. I have every score for every season on my phone. A lot of it, like a good chunk of my playlist that I play to fall asleep is from Lost.
Okay. I know exactly two things on the piano.
Yeah.
I can if I have to, I can pull out a little bit of Heart and Soul, but I can also pull out the
Life and Death
sad theme. Yep, the Life and Death theme from Lost because you taught me to play it.
I did.
At a nursing home, I think.
Oh, I did. That's right.
Greenridge. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I can play that. I can play the. I could play the. There's No Place Like Home piece from this. They're just now starting to release the soundtracks on vinyl. The one I have here is the Lost Live in Concert that Michael Giacchino did.
Ah, that's cool.
Which has a lot of the songs that I do fall asleep to on here. Like not because they're boring, but just because it's like very peaceful and sad and violins and stuff. But oh man, I'm glad I opened this because.
That's cool.
Yeah. But this is one of my highlights of my Lost collection is this.
Yeah.
3-piece vinyl set. So
Michael Giacchino's done a lot. I mean, I know
he
that's
has.
bad. Not a hot take. That's like ice cold, but like he's done a lot.
Okay, we reached a point in the show where I think we're done talking about the pilot of Lost. So this is the if this episode at all has persuaded you to watch Lost in its entirety, end the show here, because we're going to have Brian ask us any question he wants about Lost, and we will answer it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to watch Lost, for you have to watch this podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And with that, we're going to spoil Lost. So Ryan, ask us anything you want to know. I'm hoping you have a question, because if you don't, that whole setup was not worth it. So
At least ask us one, man.
at least ask us one question of one of the mysteries that you want to have answered, and I will explain it to you.
I've heard several people complain about the island moving.
Okay.
What's that about?
Frozen donkey wheel.
Wheel.
No,
It's
seriously.
only funny to
So
Alan and I.
this is going to sound fake, but I swear to you, it is not. There is a volcano in the middle of the island. Under that volcano, it like deep in the earth, is a frozen donkey wheel that is used to move the island to protect it from the outside world. So at a certain point, somebody goes down and moves the frozen donkey wheel, and the island vanishes.
But that also explains why there's a polar bear on the island, because that was one of the big things that people were like, why was there a polar bear on the island? Because the island used to be in a cold place where there were polar bears. It then traveled to a tropical place. That's what I thought. That's how I read that. Is that wrong? I thought its previous location was snowy.
So I could be wrong about this.
Okay, because I thought I saw that in that training video, in that prologue or whatever, where they were like,
I think I think there are two reasons there are polar bears on Lost.
Okay. Hold on. So Ryan, does the island moving so that's one thing that we're not that we're definitely in agreement that the island just moves to protect itself. Does that were people mad that was the answer, that just the island moves?
I think it was the fact that the island moved, period.
Mm-hmm. So getting into spoilers with some stuff, this is one of the things that I think people don't like about the answers they got to the questions that are asked, is some of the answers defy physics and defy, there's a big religion angle to it, where there are gods on the island.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
You know how I joke about the Ninja Turtles 3?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason being, and this is real. This is the real reason why I don't like the third one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because my mind can only go so far with a live action Ninja Turtles movie, to where when you add another layer of just stretching reality, it's just too much and it's too silly, and I can't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add time travel to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a live action film, it's too much. Mm-hmm. Even if the movie it's a really cool visuals, the Ninja Turtles and samurai outfits in Japan, in that era of Japan's history is really cool. There's a lot of cool visuals in it, I'm not going to lie, but it's too much for me.
Yeah.
What I saw in that pilot, to the fact that the island can move itself to protect itself,
mm-hmm.
because of some...
All right. I've
too much for me.
I can answer. Well, I mean, it's pretty out there. I'll give you that. The frozen donkey wheel and the island moving tie into the polar bears, and I'm glad I looked this up, because I wanted to say it. I wanted to say this, but I wanted to confirm that I was right. I'm going to read you this article that I found verbatim, and this is canon to the show.
Okay.
The Dharma Initiative discovered the island by looking for places in the world containing exotic particles and electromagnetic energy. A small pocket at the lamppost station led them to giant pockets on the island, where they discovered the underground strange donkey wheel. The wheel was designed. I'm not going to get into that. The initiative knew that they could use the energy could be used to teleport people through time and space, and built the Orchard Station to study it. They planned to train polar bears to turn the wheel rather than risk using a human. That's why the bear cages were on the other island, designed to reward bears for turning a wheel.
Okay, I flat forgot about that. I forgot they were trying to train the polar bears to turn a wheel.
Yeah, that I wanted to make sure that was the case. But yeah, that's why the polar bears were there from the Dharma Initiative to turn the frozen donkey wheel.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I think that's part of what people have a problem with the show, is that like they set up these questions, and you know, maybe it is a bit like the Force Awakens kind of thing, right? You set up this question like, oh my God, who could Rey's parents possibly be, or why is she so special?
And every time someone asks about it, they cut away.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh, she's a Palpatine. We go, well, we didn't like that answer. And like, oh, well, why is this island so special? Why is all this weird stuff happening? And the answer is, it's a special island. And people don't like that.
Well, using the polar bears for an explanation. Like, I didn't need that whole explanation for the polar bears. Like, why are the polar bears on the island? Oh, the Dharma Initiative was using them for science reasons. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, if you're going to have a group of scientists on an island studying things, sure, bring a polar bear. Why not?
Why not?
So my thing, and I feel like I might have been one of those people, because if I did watch this, because as I'm watching it, I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. I did not know the polar bear showed up that early, for one. I was really surprised when this polar bear showed up in the second episode. I told Kristen after I was done viewing it, I'm like, if I would have watched this premiere, I would have been so excited, because I would have been like, because one, I wouldn't have been checking the internet for any of this stuff. I would have been, the show's called Lost. They crashed on this island, and there's this thing stomping around, making everything shake, and then it eats a guy out of a plane that's propped up against a tree. I think this is like a modern Lost World show. This is going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's certainly not that.
Because you know, it's like, I was seriously trying to watch it with like my head clear, and you know, just take everything I've ever heard, just throw it out, and just let myself watch it. And like, I was definitely getting like Lost World vibes. Mm-hmm. And I would have really liked that, but I know where the show goes, and that's not what it is. So, fair. Like, that's I have a feeling that I would have been one of those people very, very early on. Mm. Granted, I probably still would have watched it if you know, I was home, and you know, the schedule would have lined up, if I probably would still been watching it. But like, that's what I was getting. Like, that's what I was thinking.
So real quick, I just want to read the last line of this article about the polar bears and the frozen donkey wheel. The polar bear mystery is actually one of the best explained and consistent plots in the entire show. Rich reading this, it kind of is, because it's like, you're introduced to it in season 1. They revisit it in season 3 without you knowing it. And then it's explored again in season 5. So it is consistent. Like, there is a reason for it, and it makes sense in hindsight. So, any other questions for Lost that we can spoil for you, Ryan?
It's okay.
Okay. All right.
That's a good one, though.
All right. Well, that officially does it for You Have to Watch This podcast. You can listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. You can watch our podcast on YouTube. Watch us live on Twitch, and like us on Facebook and Instagram for some more fun social media reels and memes. And also check out all the other Rum Runners Podcast Network podcasts, including maybe the one Devin and I do, just exploring the rest of Lost. Maybe.
I really want to after watching.
I do too. Like,
I'm all in now.
I held off on watching more of this until we talked about it. We still need to come up.
Exact same.
We need to talk about what the show will look like and have a like actual angle for it, because if it's just rewatching Lost, that's one thing. But I want to try to put a spin on it.
You have to Lost this podcast.
Yeah. You have to go back podcast.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. You All Everybody podcast. Until next time, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And happy birthday, Devin.
Happy birthday.
Wait. I forgot. Whose pick's next? Ryan? What's your next pick?
Yeah, it's Ryan.
Ghost.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah!
Ghost. Tune in next week for Ghost. For You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And if we can't live together, we're going to die alone. That's from Lost.
It's touching. It's really touching.
And I'm going to teach all you guys how to use a pottery wheel.
If that's not the meme for next week,
I'm gonna roll mad.
Oh man,
I'm gonna be shirtless.
Oh man. We'll see you next week.